for joining us here at The Research Her, the show working to improve the health disparities for women of color, one topic at a time. And I am Alicia. I'm here learning and growing with you as we research our way to wellness. On this episode, we speak with my mother, Dr. Erica Jordan, who earned her Doctor of Education in Administration from Loyola University. She also has a master's from Governor State University and a bachelor's from Aurora University. We talk about the barriers that she broke as a single Black mother in college and a little bit about her dissertation research. So let's get into the conversation with Dr. Erica Jordan. Okay, so let's just get started. Why did you pursue a doctoral degree?
It was not something that I thought I could do initially. When I graduated from high school, I could hardly write. So when I got to college and I had to write my first paper, I was devastated because I hadn't learned those skills. And I had to teach myself how to write. I never formally learned how to write. And then, as you know, I got pregnant with a daughter. And for some reason, that just really pushed me. I really wanted to be a great role model for you.
As you were.
As thank you, thank you. I really wanted to just be a great role model for you. I didn't even think about my doctorate till after I finished my master's degree, and watching Tiffany, your auntie Tiffany, go through her doctorate program. And I was there every step of the way. I saw her apply to the program. I saw her go through the program. I was at her graduation. I read her dissertation. That was the first dissertation I had ever read. And I was just so inspired, and I just wanted to achieve that level of greatness. But more importantly, I just wanted to really let you see and know that there's no limits to what you can do. I went from can't write a paragraph to writing a 400-page dissertation. That was huge. That was huge to me.
That is huge. So let's get into your dissertation and your research topic. What was the inspiration behind your research topic that you picked for your dissertation?
And so my dissertation topic was female principals that lead in the same school that they once taught. So I knew those type of women. I was one of my mentors, Dr. Rose Lee, was at one point we were class. We she was my mentor. She was a second grade teacher when I was a third grade teacher. She taught me so much and she helped me develop my teaching skills. And then she grew into her leadership skills and became a principal at the same school that she taught. And I met a few other women that started as teachers, classroom teachers, and then they became principals. And I realized that have to be a challenge to go from colleague to now I'm your superior. Not only does that have an impact on the professional relationship, but it also has a impact on the personal and the social relationships that you have with other people in your building. And I was just interested in studying that phenomenon. I enjoy writing my dissertation. And that's one of the things I tell people who ask me about getting a doctorate. Should I do it? What is your suggestion? And I just tell them find a topic that you truly enjoy. If you enjoy it, it won't even feel like you're doing work. And that's what I truly felt like. I wasn't working because I was very involved and very interested in what the data and what the women were saying.
Yeah, and like you said, you knew a few women, but like, was it hard to get enough women, enough to participate? And was there a specific number of women you knew you wanted to study? And was it hard to fulfill that, like that number?
No, not at all. Actually, I got a list of all the principals in the state of Illinois, and just sent out a mass blast of letters. And I wanted to interview 10 women. I ultimately interviewed 11 because I was just so engaged in their story. And I was really interested in the story. I really enjoyed the topic that I had selected, and it was very therapeutic, I felt, for those ladies finally somebody listening to me. It was supposed to be an hour session where I would come in, I sent them the questions beforehand. I spoke to women throughout different suburbs of Chicago. I never went to a school in Chicago because I would have had to go through Chicago Public Schools RIB, and I didn't want to go through all that. Um,
What is the RIB? What does that mean?
I don't even know if I'm saying the right letter, so let's not talk about that. But it's their internal. But ultimately, it's the internal review board. IRB. Yep, internal review board who makes sure that you are following ethical guidelines when interviewing, when having contact with people. Chicago Public Schools have their own IRB, which you have to go through, and it's a lot more stringent. And it may have held up me getting through my process as quickly as I wanted to, so I did stay away from Chicago Public Schools principals. But I sent to all different counties, Cook County, DuPage County, and I found a lot of women. And they were very open to sharing their stories, sharing their trajectory into leadership. It was very therapeutic. It was therapeutic for them.
For those who don't quite understand that process of like getting in contact with these women, is it as simple as throwing out like an email to a specific like database, or how was it getting your email or getting the contact information for these women? Do you just go somewhere and like pick it up? Like how is that process?
It's pretty much that simple. All this stuff is public. All these information. We're public employees, and I say we because I work for Chicago Public Schools, but educators are public employees when you work for public schools. So it was just a matter of me asking ISB, which is Illinois State Board of Education, for a list of people who are in leadership roles. And they sent me the list within a week or two. I sent the letter, they responded with a list. I just went through the list and sent out letters. Of course, I think I may have sent out over 100 letters. And of course, I had no way of knowing. So the letter that I sent said, if you meet these criteria, or if you know any one woman who meets it, and I spelled out the criteria, please forward my information. And these are the women who responded to me.
So now you've interviewed 10 women. What did you find, and is there anything that really stood out to you that was beneficial for your thesis in particular?
In interviewing them, there is a change in those relationships, both professional and both social. I used those interviews, that qualitative data, to see how that shift came about, see how they addressed it. I think I wasn't surprised by the data that I collected because I know women who have that situation, who live that situation, and they share some of those concerns, and they had already shared with me. Once you become a leader, you feel so alone, you feel so isolated, and that's pretty much validated in the interviews that I had with these women. They felt isolated. They were once invited to different events. They were once friends. They once went over people's home, invited to baby showers and graduation parties, but now it becomes us versus them.
They become a part of the them versus being a part of the us.
Absolutely. And so you lose some valuable friends. You lose some of those friendships. I do recall one lady saying that as she was a teacher, she knew all the hiding spots. She knew all the different tricks they would pull as far as sneaking in, sneaking out, taking extended lunches when you knew that you wouldn't get caught. And she said now that once she learned all those things being a teacher, now she had an obligation and duty to make sure it didn't happen. So when someone did it, she had to call them out on the carpet. She said that did cause some problems in a friendship, but she was ready to relinquish those friendships because maintaining her position or power was important.
I know that you have had some like maybe people in your life who just make it their business to never call you Dr. Jordan, even though everybody else around you at work or in that like professional setting are calling you Dr. Jordan. They still make it their business to like say Miss Jordan or Mrs. Jordan. Like how do you handle those situations, and does it make you feel any type of way?
That's a great question. And I say it's great because I know people who take it very personal. I'm not one of those people. I recognize the community that I service. And for the most part, I would say 95% of the people that I surround myself with, I work with, my students, my colleagues, they do respect the title. They do understand. It's very interesting when I meet a person, especially a person who's never been to college, tell me, "Oh, I heard getting a doctorate is real easy. It's nothing to it." I just kind of chuckle to myself because I recognize that sometimes people have to say these things to themselves to make themselves feel better. But I know, and anybody else who have earned their doctorate, I know as you go through your PhD program, you recognize that it's a lot of sacrifice, it's a lot of hard work, and I know the work I put in. I know the sweat I put into it. And I know that my number one goal was to be a role model for my daughter. And I tell my students this. I say, your children are not going to do what you tell them to do. They're going to do what you do. They're going to say, if you didn't go to college, you didn't do this, why should I do that? Well, I took all those excuses away from my daughter and look at her now. So I feel like I did what I set out to do. I'm more marketable. I'm able to have conversations in different settings. I met some amazing people along the way. And if I meet somebody who say Miss Jordan versus Dr. Jordan, it's okay. It's all right. I don't take it personal. It bothers me more when people say, "Oh, I heard getting a doctorate is easy." I don't know. I don't get moved by people who don't know, and I just chalk it off as, It's a privilege. I feel a badge of honor to call myself Dr. Jordan. I feel a badge of honor to be a black face with that title. And then I do have to explain to some of my children, some of my students, that I'm not a medical doctor and that there are different type of doctors, and I can't do any medical procedures on you because I do not have a medical degree. And then even explaining the difference between doctorates. There's the PhD and then there's the EDD. And of course, I have the EDD, which is more of a practitioner's doctorate, versus the PhD, which is more of a research doctorate. So I do want to ask you, do you remember me going to school for my doctorate? Does anything about me going to school or classes stick out to you at all?
Obviously, there would be times where you would have class at night and I would stay with Nana and things like that. But I do remember you being very just like determined more than anything. Like I just remember like, oh my, I didn't understand it at the time. I guess like it was like, oh, my mama have got to go to school. Why she don't go to school? Like when I go to school, and it's like, oh, she got to work. Like so, I'm like, why she don't got to go to school during the time that I go to school? It was like that, but that was also like because I was a kid, I didn't really understand um the idea of like having to work full time because you worked full time and then you had to go to school at nighttime. So I
Yeah.
definitely remember that process, but the amount of like hard work you had to do, I couldn't imagine what it was like because I am doing it without a kid. I'm doing it without all of like you had every reason to be like, I don't have to do that. I got to do it. I got to be a mom. Like you had every reason to kind of like throw in the towel and say like, I ain't gonna do that because I gotta be a mother, and you chose to do both. You chose it all. You chose to be a mother. You chose to still go to
And
school
I'm
and do
glad
it
you
all.
noticed
So
that because it's a challenge when you're young. I was very young when I had you. I was single, so I knew I was taking a chance on my tribe, on the people that supported me, the people that loved you, and saying and trusting and believing them when they say, "I'll help you. I got you. Just stay in school." And they came through. The people who said they would support me and help me, they came through. And my village is your village, our village is dope. We have a dope village, and they made sure that I was able to get through school. And essentially, that was always important to me. My child going to college.
I've always felt supported and loved. There hasn't been there, there are times where I'm kind of down that certain people don't support me and certain people aren't there. But I think as I get older, I just realize they just don't have the capacity to support me like that. Like, I don't really want to get into it that much, but like I just do remember always feeling like loved and supported with my nana always being there, my dad. Like, I'm blessed in that. I'm very privileged in the fact that I was able to be successfully co-parented. Like, you were a single mother, but my dad was there and loved me so much that I always felt loved. I never was seeking that. Always like am on the what's next in my career, what's next in my school, what am I doing? Like, it's always like I'm so focused on that, I guess, bigger like academic goal or that bigger career goal.
I always saw something different in you. Even when you were a young girl, you would want to read, and you didn't. You would watch the Animal Channel and the Health Channel while your friends were watching cartoons and Hannah Montana. You were watching I remember when you were little and you were asking me for all the, you was like, I need peanut butter and apples. And I'm like, why? You said, because I don't want to get rickets. And I said, why would you get what is rickets? Like, I didn't even know what rickets was. I had to look it up. But you had watched the show on a health channel, and you were looking at what you were very interested in health at an early age. So it's no surprise that this is your calling.
Wait, Ma, can you tell that one story about my first race conversation?
Oh, your race conversation. It was the cutest conversation. You had to be 2 or 3. And I had a very good friend who was a nanny to a young white boy who you were probably the same age as him. And then the mother had adopted a black baby. So the baby was still under 1, couldn't talk. And you and James couldn't have been more than 3, and you were in the living room playing and coloring or something really low level where you could talk and do the activity that you were doing. And Kristen and I were listening to your conversation, and Elizabeth, who was the black baby, was in the room with you too. And James asked you, do you like being black? And you said, yes, I do like being black. And then you asked him, do you like being white? He said, yes, I do like being white. And then he said, do you think Elizabeth like being black? And you said, yes, I think Elizabeth like being black. And Crystal and I just cracking up the whole time. That was your first conversation about race
You
with
hear that,
another person.
child? I've been advocating for black women since I was a youngin'.
You were. You said, no, Elizabeth like being black. And I'm sure she, to this day, I wish I could find her. And so she can show you, yes, I do enjoy my blackness.
You never pushed me to get a PhD. You always like you were like you going to college. Like that was like I don't even remember ever thinking that I could do anything outside of go to college. Like I knew at that time like you could stay home, but what do you do when you stay home? Like I heard college is good. You go there, you get to live your best life. Like what do you do?
Exactly.
Like what do you do when you
And
stay
and
home?
interesting enough, I was a first generation college student, and I did not think about anything besides going to college. I didn't think about it. I just, my mother said the same thing to me. You going to college? And I said, okay. I knew I didn't want to work. I saw my mother working. She worked very hard for many years. I saw her get up when she was tired. I saw her go to work when she was sick. I saw her sacrifice so much for her 3 children, her own parents, and she made work look hard. She made work look hard, and I did not want to do that yet. So college to me was my escape from what appeared to be a sentence. I didn't even know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I was going to major in.
You started off
And
accounting, right?
I started off as an accounting major, and I would fall asleep in class, and I realized I cannot be an accountant. I can't get through the classes. It's so boring to me. And when I got pregnant with you, I decided I'd go into education. It made sense. And it was the best decision I made.
For you, what was that connection like? It made sense. Like, because you say it made sense. What?
It made sense because it gave me an opportunity to have summers off. I said, "Oh, good. I'm going to become a teacher, and then I'll have the summers off, and I'll be able to spend time with my daughter, or with my child." I don't know what I was. I didn't know.
You were having a boy?
I
Okay.
didn't know what I was having. I didn't know what I was having. But I thought I would be able to be home with my child. I didn't even understand that, yeah, summer's off is a joke. You end up working the summer too, because there's summer opportunities. But it made sense. And I just said this the other day to one of my colleagues, like, I really like my job. I really like my kids. They drive me insane, but I really, really like my kids, and I really like my job. And it has its ups, it has its downs, but I enjoy what I do. I think I had a toxic work environment before, and once I got out, it was like being in a toxic relationship. And when I was finally able to leave that situation, I can appreciate anything.
Mm.
I think I was talking about how I didn't know anything else to do but to go to college because it only made sense. And then when I had you, so many people doubted that I could finish. Like, oh, you can't finish college because you have a child, and children are not going to let you finish. You're going to have to work, you're going to have to do this, you're going to have to do that. And I guess the stubborn me or the determined me was set out to prove everybody wrong. Nope. My daughter did not do anything like that. She did not keep me from my goals. As a matter of fact, after I had you, my life got so much better. It got better. I became a mother, and it was hard being a single mother, but I was able to leave a toxic relationship with my head and my dignity intact. I was able to finish my degree, get a master's, get a doctorate, get my own buy my own house, buy my own car, have money in the bank. It's My life just took a turn for the best after I had you. And I really, really, truly contributed to motherhood. And I see so many young women, they get to that fork in the road, and same thing. You can either make motherhood the best thing that happened to you and put all excuses aside, or you can use it as a woe is me moment, as a stumbling block. And I'm so grateful that that motherhood was an inspiration to me. And I don't think I probably would have been that inspired with a boy. You
Although
have
that's
a
what you told me,
girl,
I,
you
I
like,
feel
I
some type
have
of
to.
way that you wore that "It's a Boy" shirt at your baby shower when you didn't know what you was having. Just to throw that
I
out.
did not know what I was having. I did not find out. I did not want to find out.
So what? Did that boldness come from? Like, I'm just gonna wear this "It's a Boy" shirt to my baby shower, where they're gonna be
It
taking,
does
and you
not
know those
say.
were
It's like it just happened to say boy. I didn't even notice it said boy when I was buying the shirt, Alicia.
mine. Go back and look at the
Sheesh.
picture. It's a big old boy
It
and
say
and
boy. It just say boy oh boy. I don't know what it say. I can't find a picture. All that stuff is in Texas. I
yours
shipped
is
all
in
that stuff
Texas.
to
I
Texas.
have the picture in my photo book in West Lafayette, Indiana, so I don't have access to it now either. But
Exactly. That's even worse. You're further you're even further than that. I said, but you were such an easy child because you self-monitored, you were very independent. You were always independent. Even at 2. Like you would get up in the morning, turn on your Lion King. I don't know if I should be saying all this because it makes me sound like an awful mother. But you would get up and turn on Lion King, and I knew I had at least another hour to lay in the bed on the weekends because you would self monitor. You just want to watch Lion King and eat a bowl of cereal, and you could do all that at 2 and 3. You were just such an easy child. And then as you grew up, you were harder on yourself about your grades than I ever could be. So I never said anything to you about grades, study, homework, because that was a priority to you. And I could not. It's you handled it. It's handled. I don't remember ever asking you to do your homework. As a matter of fact, I remember telling you turn off the light and go to bed, and you like, I'm doing my homework, and I'm like, girl, turn off the light. If it's not done, it's not gonna get done. You need to get some rest. I remember you being up late studying, downloading podcasts. I didn't even know what a podcast was. You know, you've been listening to podcasts since you were in high school. I didn't even know what a podcast was, and you were listening to them. Do you remember
Because
that?
you go online to listen to people who you can learn from. So
Exactly.
yeah,
So what you would do is, so let me, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember it so vividly. You had a teacher that had a strong accent and you struggled with understanding that science teacher.
physics.
I think it was physics. It was a science class, but you would download podcasts. But while you were in high school, like this takes a whole level of consciousness. This takes responsibility and accountability to a whole nother level of consciousness. You were way light years ahead of your time because teenagers don't typically do that. They will make excuses. I can't understand her. I don't want her. No. Your thing was, hey, what's the topic? I'm going to self teach. I'm going to go research that topic. So you were a researcher before you knew you were a researcher because once you were given the topic, you took it upon yourself to do the research and understand the topic and understand the content so that you would not be able to use her accent as your excuse. And I thought that was super cool. And I just like, oh my God, where did this child come from? Because I certainly, in your age, would have blamed the teacher. Like, well, I can't understand the teacher. I remember you received a B in a math class at the end of the semester, and you went to the teacher. You said, I'm going to handle it. I said, well, if it you received a B in the class, and according to the syllabus you were given at the beginning of the year, maybe you got a 90% as your final grade. A 90% on the syllabus was an A. Throughout the year, some things changed, and they changed a A to a 95% or something to that effect. So, or maybe a 92%. And so when you went to the teacher and told her, you gave me a B, I should have got an A. And she said, no, an A is a 92 to a 100. And you said, no, it's a 92 on 100. And you went to your locker, got your syllabus that you had in your folder that you had probably 3 hole punched and put it in the binder and had it still intact. And you said, this is what you gave us at the beginning of the school year, and this is what I operated out off of. If it changed, you did not tell us. I remember the teacher telling me, I'll change it this time. But you said, all I needed you to do was change it this time. I said, this child here. But you advocated for yourself, but you did it in such a mature way. You didn't go get aggressive or funky with her. You just said, hey, this is what you gave me. Now, if it changed, you didn't change the syllabus. You didn't give us an updated syllabus. So this is what I operated off of. Do you remember that?
No, no, I
I
don't.
remember that. And you came back to me. You was like, it's handled. She changed it to an A. She told me. I remember your little stank too. She told me, this, I'm doing it this time, Alicia. And I told her, that's all you have to do is it this time. Said this time, yeah. But it comes from being organized, knowing you. But you were an organized person, so it was your destiny.
I'm organized in school. This room right now, though, a
Mhm.
mess. So, you know that this is the Research Her.
Yes.
Yes.
Can I give a shout out to my mother? Hey, Ma, I made it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So, the one of the big themes of the show is to talk about health related topics. For you, I have two questions. What
Okay.
is some one thing that you do to stay mentally healthy?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked that. I faith journal almost every day. I find a Bible verse. I read it, I soak it in, I talk about it, I pray on it. But I love. I have an addiction to stationery. I'm a fountain pen addict. But more importantly, I like to put my thoughts to paper. And I enjoy that time that I have to just pray on what's going on, not to pray for things to happen the way I want them to, but to pray for whatever God's design, that it his will be done, and that I have the courage to follow along with that will. So, and it helps me. It's very it's it's a release for me. That time that I have faith journaling is very important to me.
What is something that you do for your health, your physical health?
I like to watch the news while I'm on the treadmill. So get up in the morning around 5:30 or 6 before I get ready for work and just look at the news and be on the treadmill since I want to watch the news anyway and do two things at one time.
That is it. Thank you for being on the show. You can connect with her at Dr. EJ LUV Pink on Instagram. And also, if you can go ahead and write a short review on Apple Podcasts with a 5-star rating, I would greatly appreciate that. And until next time.